Your customers don't buy with logic. Despite what most businesses believe, purchasing decisions are not driven by rational comparison or feature analysis. People don't sit down and objectively evaluate options the way brands expect them to. The real decision happens much earlier, beneath conscious awareness. Logic doesn't lead the process. It follows it. They decide with their brain. Before price, before benefits, before specifications, the brain makes a judgment. It asks a few fundamental questions, almost instantly. Is this safe? Does this make sense? How much effort will this take? These evaluations happen automatically, without language, without deliberate thought. Only once the brain feels comfortable, does logic step in to justify the choice. And it happens faster than you think. In a matter of milliseconds, attention is either granted or withdrawn. Most brands never see this moment happen. There's no alert, no signal, no clear rejection. The brain doesn't announce hesitation, it simply disengages. By the time analytics register a bounce, the decision has already been made. Most brands fail silently. There are no complaints, no angry messages, no feedback explaining what went wrong. Just users closing tabs, skipping pages, and moving on without a trace. Silence is often mistaken for neutrality, but in reality, silence is rejection without confrontation. Not because the product is weak. In fact, many excellent products fail to grow. They are well built, thoughtfully priced, and genuinely valuable. The issue is rarely the product itself. Strength alone does not create momentum. Quality without clarity still feels risky to the brain. But because the decision feels heavy, the true problem is cognitive weight. When a decision feels mentally demanding, the brain resists. It conserves energy, it delays action. This resistance doesn't feel emotional, it feels reasonable. And when resistance appears, even strong desire fades into hesitation. When thinking feels hard, the brain chooses nothing, not a competitor, not a cheaper alternative. Just inaction. Waiting feels safer than choosing wrong. From the brain's perspective, doing nothing carries less risk than committing to uncertainty. This is where most conversions quietly die. The science. This is not speculation or opinion. This is neuroscience, cognitive psychology, and behavioral science. Decades of research show how the brain processes information, detects risk, and conserves energy. Understanding this science is not optional anymore, it's foundational. Neuromarketing isn't manipulation. It's not about tricks, pressure, or psychological shortcuts. Neuromarketing does not force people to decide. It studies how decisions already happen, and designs experiences that align with the brain instead of fighting it. It's respect for human cognition, not exploitation. It's understanding how humans decide, what they instinctively trust, what triggers doubt, what feels familiar, and what feels unsafe. The brain is constantly filtering signals, long before conscious thought forms. Brands that understand these signals remove friction before it becomes resistance. People don't buy products, they buy relief. Relief from uncertainty, relief from confusion, relief from the fear of choosing wrong. When an experience feels easy, clear, and predictable, the brain interprets it as competence. And competence creates trust. Every brand touchpoint sends a signal. Your website, your visuals, your copy, your structure, even what you leave unsaid. Every detail communicates something to the brain. It either reinforces confidence or introduces doubt. The brain doesn't ignore inconsistencies. It records them. Too many options equal paralysis. Choice overload does not empower people. It exhausts them. As options increase, confidence decreases. The brain struggles to evaluate outcomes, and momentum collapses. What feels like flexibility to a business often feels like risk to a customer. Unclear messaging creates resistance. When language is vague or overloaded, the brain pauses. It asks, what is this really? What happens next? If answers aren't immediate, trust erodes. Confusion is not neutral, it's costly. Every unclear sentence adds friction. Visual noise triggers cognitive load. Cluttered interfaces overwhelm perception. Attention fragments, mental energy drains, and decision-making slows down. The brain doesn't argue or complain. It simply exits. Clean design is not aesthetic preference. It is neurological relief. Inconsistency breeds distrust. When experiences feel inconsistent, trust doesn't weaken gradually. It collapses instantly. The human brain is a pattern recognition system. It constantly looks for repetition, predictability, and familiarity. When a brand's visuals, tone, structure, or behavior shift unexpectedly, the brain interprets it as instability. And instability at a neurological level feels like danger. When danger is detected, the brain's priority shifts from progress to protection. Friction feels like risk. Friction is not just inconvenience, it's a warning signal. Every extra step, unclear instruction, unexpected pause, or confusing element increases perceived risk. The brain doesn't label this feeling logically, it simply slows down. That slowdown is hesitation, and hesitation is the invisible force that kills conversion long before any metric reports a problem. Where neuromarketing lives. Neuromarketing does not live in ads alone. It lives everywhere the brain interacts with a brand. In identity, in product structure, in packaging, in websites, in funnels, in content, in the way information is revealed, in the order choices appear, and in how outcomes are framed. Every decision point either reduces cognitive effort or increases resistance. There is no neutral ground. The CEO reality. At the leadership level, growth problems are rarely traffic problems. They are rarely technology problems, and they are almost never solved by adding more tools. Growth stalls because decision systems are unclear, because trust is fragile, because customers hesitate, and hesitation is not fixed by more noise, it's fixed by better design. Decisions must be designed deliberately, not left to chance. This is decision design. Decision design is not marketing in the traditional sense. It is the architecture of choice. It is the intentional structuring of experiences so the right decision feels natural, intuitive, and safe. It is removing unnecessary effort, eliminating uncertainty, and guiding momentum forward. When decisions are designed properly, persuasion becomes unnecessary. SIVRA Studio. This is where SIVRA Studio operates, at the intersection of psychology, systems thinking, and artificial intelligence. We do not chase trends or tactics. We design clarity. We build structure. We create systems that reduce friction across every touchpoint. Not louder brands, clearer ones, where AI multiplies impact. Neuromarketing explains why humans behave the way they do. Artificial intelligence ensures that understanding is applied continuously. AI does not replace strategy, it executes it at scale. It observes behavior, adapts flows, responds instantly, and learns over time. Together, neuromarketing and AI create systems that operate calmly, consistently, and relentlessly, without pressure or burnout. The AI website is a system. An AI-powered website is not a static page. It is not a digital brochure. It is a living system, one that engages, responds, qualifies, and adapts in real time. It answers objections before they surface. It guides users through decisions instead of forcing them to figure things out. It turns uncertainty into clarity, automatically. It guides decisions calmly. Effective systems do not rush people. They do not pressure them. They remove confusion step by step. Calm guidance builds confidence. Confidence builds trust. And trust accelerates decisions. When people feel guided rather than pushed, resistance disappears naturally. The result. When neuromarketing and AI systems are aligned, results do not spike. They compound. Conversion improves because decisions feel easier. Trust strengthens because experiences remain consistent. Waste decreases because effort becomes precise. Growth becomes a process, not a struggle. Growth becomes inevitable. At this point, growth stops feeling heavy. It no longer depends on constant effort or emotional energy. It becomes predictable, stable, repeatable. The system carries the cognitive load, allowing the business to scale without friction. The brands that win aren't louder. They do not shout more. They do not push harder. They do not overwhelm attention. They remove confusion, while others add noise. And clarity outperforms volume every time. In crowded markets, calm becomes a competitive advantage. They're clearer. Clear brands reduce mental effort. They show the brain exactly where to go and what happens next. There are no hidden steps, no surprises. No unnecessary complexity. When the path is obvious, action feels safe. And safe decisions happen faster. Stop pushing harder. Pressure creates resistance. The brain interprets force as risk. Risk never builds trust. It delays commitment. The more pressure applied, the more the brain retreats. Growth does not come from pushing harder, it comes from removing obstacles. Stop guessing. Guessing creates inconsistency. Inconsistency erodes trust. And lost trust rarely announces itself. It simply disappears. Systems learn. Guessing repeats mistakes. Sustainable growth requires intelligence, not hope. Design how people decide. This is where real growth begins. Not at traffic. Not at ads. But at the precise moment, a human brain chooses whether to move forward or step away. Design that moment, and everything downstream improves. This is neuromarketing. Not manipulation, not persuasion tricks, but a deep understanding of perception, risk, effort, and trust. Designing experiences the brain wants to complete, not ones it has to fight through. This is decision design. Every detail serves one purpose, making the next step feel obvious. When choices are obvious, hesitation disappears, and obvious choices convert. This is SIVRA Studio. We don't ask how to convince people, we ask how to remove friction, how to reduce cognitive load, how to design clarity that scales. Make it click. Make it run. When clarity meets intelligent systems, growth stops feeling heavy and starts feeling inevitable. This is modern growth. Imagine building a brand where decisions feel effortless, where customers don't need to think harder, they simply move forward. Imagine systems that guide people calmly, design that removes friction instead of adding noise, and growth that compounds without pressure. This is what happens when psychology, clarity, and intelligent systems work together. If you want to explore how neuromarketing, AI, and decision design can reshape how your brand grows, follow SIVRA Studio. Subscribe to learn how modern brands are built. Not louder, not harder, but clearer. Follow and subscribe for neuromarketing, decision design, and AI-powered growth systems. Build brands people trust. Design decisions people complete. This is SIVRA Studio.